From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham in Washington, D.C., and over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. Secretary of State Antony Blinken meets Egypt's president in Cairo. The two leaders discuss ways to fast-track the Gaza ceasefire deal. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he will continue accepting gifts from donors. This as controversy erupts over the Prime Minister's acceptance of 40 tickets to sporting events valued at over $100,000. The first phase of polling ends in the northern Indian territory of Jammu and Kashmir. At least 9 million voters to cast their ballot in the first election in the region in a decade. Venezuela authorities arrest a U.S. national on suspicion of plotting the assassination of Nicolas Maduro, marking the fourth such arrest in a week. Caracas says photos of military units, power stations, and state officials were recovered from the detainee. And tech giant Google halts its $200 million data center project in Chile amid severe water shortages. The South American country has been suffering from a nationwide drought for over a decade. We start in the Middle East, where almost 4,000 members of the Iran-backed group Hezbollah were targeted in a single operation after their pagers exploded yesterday. Pagers, also known as beepers, are wireless telecommunication devices that can display a one-line message. The devices were widely used from the 1960s until the late 1990s, before the advent of cell phones. All the pagers owned by Hezbollah detonated at 3:30 p.m. Lebanon time after they received a common message. At least 12 people, including 2 children, were killed, while over 2,800 Hezbollah members were hospitalized with severe wounds.
The number of martyrs as of today is 12 martyrs, including 2 children, a girl who was 8 years old and a young man who was 11 years old, in addition to several healthcare workers who were also among the martyrs who have fallen. I repeat, the number of martyrs so far is 12 martyrs.
Iran's ambassador to Lebanon was also injured, along with several high-ranking Hezbollah officials. The Iran-backed group also accused Israel and its intelligence agency Mossad of carrying out the large-scale operation. However, Israel has refused to comment on the incident. Now, according to reports, Hezbollah had only recently purchased these pagers after a senior member of their group was killed by Israel back in Beirut in July. The pagers were bought from the Taiwanese firm Gold Apollo, but had been manufactured by a European entity.
There is an agent in Europe whom we have cooperated with for 3 years. They are the agent for all of our products. They also produced a pager using our brand name. They pay us for using our logo. We have contracts ready that we can show you. None of the components in that product belong to us. Nothing was exported by us.
Now, several reports say that Israel managed to intercept the devices and add an explosive component that could be triggered remotely via a call or page. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has confirmed that the United States had no involvement in the pager blast across Lebanon.
I don't have any details to provide on the reports of the pager blast. I can tell you, to my knowledge, there's no U.S. involvement in this at all. Again, it's something that we're monitoring.
Now it remains unclear whether Israel's intelligence service Mossad is directly responsible for the pager blast. Hezbollah has blamed Israel for the incident and has vowed to retaliate. No doubt this cunning attack is a major security and intelligence blow for Hezbollah and shows just how far Israel is in fact willing to go to neutralize any threats. And here in the United States, former President Donald Trump says he will meet Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his visit to the United States next week. The former president made the announcement while speaking at a campaign event. Trump called Prime Minister Modi a fantastic man, but labeled India an abuser of the bilateral trade partnership.
So when India, which is a very big abuser, he happens to be coming to meet me next week, and Modi, he's fantastic. I mean, fantastic man. A lot of these leaders are fantastic. You have to understand one thing. They're 100%. These people are the sharpest people. They're not a little bit backward. They are at the top. You know the expression, they're at the top of their game, and they use it against us. But India is very tough.
Prime Minister Modi will be in Delaware along with leaders of Australia and Japan next week. He'll participate in the 4th Quad Leader Summit hosted by President Joe Biden in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware on September 21st. The Indian leader will then travel to New York to address the Indian American community on Long Island. Prime Minister Modi will also address the United Nations General Assembly on September 23rd, as well as meet with the CEOs of leading American tech companies and other thought leaders. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has given no further details on where he will meet Prime Minister Modi or what topics the two will discuss. The Republican presidential nominee enjoyed a very close relationship with the Indian leader during his presidency. They last met in 2020 when Donald Trump visited India. Prime Minister Modi organized a grand 125,000 person rally at the world's largest cricket stadium in the Indian state of Gujarat to welcome Donald Trump. Now it's unclear if the Prime Minister will also meet Vice President Kamala Harris during his trip to the United States. Last year, Prime Minister Modi praised Kamala Harris for her political achievements and labeled the Democratic presidential candidate an inspiration to women all across the world. And staying in the United States, a Microsoft report has revealed that Russia is using fake videos and social media handles to debilitate the campaign of Vice President Kamala Harris. In recent weeks, a baseless video surfaced over social media claiming that Kamala Harris left a 13-year-old girl paralyzed after a hit and run back in 2011. The fake news was spread through a website claiming to be a local San Francisco TV station, which in reality doesn't exist. The clip even featured a woman claiming to be the victim of the crash. However, Microsoft has identified the woman as an actor, and the website was created just days before publishing the fake story. Microsoft says the baseless campaign was just one of the tactics used by a Russia propaganda group to discredit the Harris campaign. Earlier this month, the same Kremlin-aligned propaganda group circulated another false video showing Democrats attacking a MAGA supporter at a Donald Trump rally. Both of these videos were shared by pro-Russian accounts on social media and garnered millions of views. The Russian accounts used catchy headlines, outlandish thumbnails, and scandalous claims to attract maximum attention. Their videos mostly feature on-screen or voice actors who impersonate whistleblowers or journalists sharing false news. Last week, Washington indicted 2 employees of the Russian state media network RT, claiming they were scheming to influence the U.S. election results.
That's what we did just last week when the State Department, the Justice Department, the Treasury Department, the FBI took a series of coordinated actions to counter Russian influence and interference in our elections and in our democracy. In addition to imposing sanctions, visa restrictions, and other measures, the State Department also designated the Russian state-funded and directed media company, Rossiya Segodnya, and 5 of its subsidiaries, including RT, under the Foreign Missions Act.
Now, with Election Day just 47 days away, Microsoft says the Russian groups are expected to step up their efforts in hopes of thwarting a Harris victory. And now moving to Asia, Bhutan, the Himalayan kingdom known for prioritizing happiness over wealth, has quietly emerged as a major player in the cryptocurrency world. With $780 million worth of Bitcoin, which is nearly a third of its GDP, Bhutan has become the 4th largest government holder of Bitcoin. Now, what's fueling the country's ambitions to become a leader in green crypto mining? Here's our report with answers.
Nestled in the Himalayas, Bhutan, a tiny Buddhist kingdom with fewer than 900,000 people, has emerged as an unexpected yet powerful player in the world of cryptocurrency. Known for its serene landscapes, happiness-centric philosophy and commitment to sustainability, Bhutan has quietly amassed a significant treasure. Over 13,000 Bitcoin worth approximately $780 million. For a country with a GDP of just under $3 billion, this is a staggering sum, making Bhutan the 4th largest government holder of Bitcoin globally. The Himalayan kingdom is only behind the United States, China and the United Kingdom as it overtook El Salvador, Ukraine and Germany. Unlike the United States and China, which gained their cryptocurrency through seizures and legal battles, Bhutan took a more proactive approach by investing directly in Bitcoin mining. And the nation's journey into the digital asset world has been led by its state-owned investment arm, Druk Holdings. Now, even though Bitcoin, the world's first decentralized digital currency, was created in 2009, it has since evolved from a fringe internet experiment into a globally recognized financial asset. And what makes Bitcoin unique is its limited supply and its decentralized nature, operating outside the control of any central bank. While on the other hand, mining Bitcoin involves solving complex mathematical problems to validate transactions on the blockchain. A process that consumes significant energy but offers lucrative rewards in Bitcoin currency. Bhutan's decision to mine Bitcoin rather than purchase it directly aligns with its broader strategy to diversify revenue streams. The country's Bitcoin mining activities have been fueled by its abundant hydropower resources, making Bhutan one of the most eco-friendly crypto miners in the world. And Druk Holdings has been actively involved in managing Bhutan's Bitcoin assets, with recent wallet activity showing a flurry of deposits and withdrawals. According to Arkham Intelligence, which tracks on-chain analytics, Druk has engaged in significant transactions. In one instance, a whopping $25 million worth of BTC was transferred to their account. So, as the world increasingly shifts towards digital assets, Bhutan's embracing of Bitcoin mining reflects a broader trend among nations seeking alternative sources of income. Countries like El Salvador have adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender, while others are holding it as part of their sovereign wealth strategies. Bhutan, however, stands out for its eco-conscious approach, leveraging its natural resources to minimize the environmental impact of mining.
And finally, no sooner than the world thought the worst was in the rear view post-COVID, an even deadlier threat is on the rise: superbugs. These drug-resistant bacteria are evolving faster than medicines can keep up, and experts now predict that nearly 40 million people could die over the next 25 years from infections. The elderly are increasingly vulnerable, and the antibiotics that are meant to be a bulwark are failing. Our final report has more.
The world was brought to its knees by the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions of lives were lost, healthcare systems were overwhelmed. The virus spread with relentless speed, catching governments and doctors off guard. But while we were focused on battling this invisible enemy, another deadly threat quietly advanced in the shadows. Drug-resistant superbugs. These bacteria, stronger and more dangerous, are now projected to kill nearly 40 million people over the next 25 years. Superbugs, or antimicrobial resistant or AMR pathogens, are bacteria that have adapted to survive even the strongest antibiotics. And what makes this crisis terrifying is that AMR infections are harder, sometimes impossible to treat. Ordinary antibiotics, once the miracle solution to infections, are no longer enough. And as new data reveals, the rise of these superbugs has already killed over 1 million people annually between 1990 and 2021. But that's just the start. The real danger is still ahead. Scientists now predict that unless something changes, the number of deaths from these superbugs will rise by at least 67% by 2050. That means 2 million people will die every year from infections we used to easily cure. And it's not just the direct deaths that we have to worry about. Superbugs will be responsible for complicating surgeries, childbirth, and even minor injuries. Among the most vulnerable is the elderly population. As we age, our immune systems weaken. So the elderly are more susceptible to infections. But for children, the picture is slightly more hopeful. Thanks to improved infection control for infants, deaths among children under 5 have dropped by half. But when children do catch these infections, doctors face an uphill battle to treat them. One superbug, MRSA, a type of staph bacteria, has seen a particularly alarming rise. In just 30 years, deaths from MRSA have doubled, killing 130,000 people in 2021. It's clear that this isn't just a healthcare problem, it's a global threat. But despite the bleak outlook, there is hope. The same models predicting these grim numbers also offer a way out. If the world can improve care for severe infections, increase access to life-saving drugs and use antibiotics more responsibly, we could save 92 million lives by 2050. But this will require immediate coordinated action. The timing of this report is also crucial. On September 26th, world leaders will gather at the United Nations for a high-level meeting on AMR. It's an opportunity for governments to commit to taking the bold steps needed to prevent a future where simple infections can once again kill millions.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.